Welcome back to another MellyIndaMix. Now, people, I must admit, why the hell we ain't find Biggie's murderer yet? Why we sitting here covering Tupac's murder when we clearly know who the hell did it? Why is this information so brand new to us? Welcome back to another MellyIndaMix, people. After 30 years, Tupac's revenge is back. They finally found somebody who was involved in the heinous murder of Tupac Shakur. This gentleman goes by the name of Keefe D. Davis, middle name Dwayne. He is the direct cousin of the actual shooter, Orlando Anderson. We're here to cover the story because this is important to the society of hip-hop, and I feel like I must cover it. But people, let me your eyes and your ears. Thank you for joining the platform. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's go straight to this. If you're young and you're just getting into the story, this has been a big hip-hop story for the past almost 30 years. And just now, they're just locking somebody up for this. This is big news. But where's Biggie's murderer? That's what I need to cover. That's what I want to cover. Why we ain't covering that? I'm from New York. This LA stuff is cool, but we need to find Biggie's murderer. We need to put Biggie laid down to rest properly, just like they're about to do Tupac Shakur. But people, let's get straight into the video. It's another MellyIndaMix. Let me your eyes and your ears. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you like what you see, if you didn't like what you see, if you like what you heard, you didn't like what you heard, please leave a comment. Let's go.
But the wheels of justice turn slowly sometimes. That was the case here.
It's pretty slow. 30 years slow.
27 years after rapper Tupac Shakur was shot to death in a car in Las Vegas, a man who confessed to his involvement in the crime
This is the car.
behind bars.
Who shot Tupac?
This is Keefe D.
For the cold in the streets, it just came from the backseat.
Filmmaker Mike Dorsey predicted an arrest on Law and Crime nearly 2 months ago.
I think that they are going to close this case. I think that there is very likely...
They should have been closed this case.
Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy.
Well, apparently the cops already got all this information years ago. They had order profit for Keefe D, and he gave up all this information a long time ago. So I don't know why this information is actually new. What they're actually mad about is that he keeps talking about it in interviews.
Las Vegas Metro Police took Dwayne Keefe D. Davis into custody Friday. He's being held on charges related to the 1996 murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. Las Vegas Metro Police searched Davis's home in Henderson, Nevada in July.
The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Damn, they went to the man's crib and all that. They got this shit on videotape.
At the same time, a grand jury was investigating
That's
Tupac's
Tupac.
murder. Tupac Shakur was shot as he was riding in a car.
And that's Uncle Luke from Miami. You know, that's, I don't know if you're familiar with hip-hop, but yeah, but that's Uncle Luke and Tupac.
Driven by Suge Knight one night in September 1996. Tupac had gotten into a fight with a man named Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand during a Mike
Apparently, he was the Big Crip. Big Crip. Check out my drip. Big Crip.
Tyson fight. The shooting of Shakur was believed to be retaliation for the fight. Keefe D later confessed that he gave Anderson, who was...
Yo, the progression of technology is crazy, because can you believe this was only almost 30 years ago? And look how shitty and grainy this video is. Thank God for 1080p.
His nephew, the gun to shoot Tupac Shakur. He made the statement in a proffer to police, but the statement could not be used against him in court. Years later, Keefe D admitted his involvement in Tupac's murder and...
Well, you forget to mention that the proffer was actually for 1 day. It wasn't like forever. It was for 1 day, which means if he said anything after that day, he would be directly implicating himself within the murder. And clout is a bitch, because that's exactly what he did.
His book, Compton Street Legend. Many view the book as a confession. Keefe D wrote about that night.
Got some thick-ass eyebrows on Orlando.
Given me and tossed it in the back seat. Bubble Up did the driving, Baby Lane and Freaky were riding in the back.
I had 5 motherfuckers in that car. That's crazy.
Like two rams locking horns, Suge and I looked each other dead in the eye. The terrified expression on Suge's face read, "Damn them N-words." He goes on to write, "One of my guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back." Tupac Shakur died days later, and his murder would remain unsolved for years. Orlando Anderson was shot to death the next year.
Yeah.
Filmmaker Mike Dorsey worked with retired LAPD detective Greg Kading on the documentary Murder Rap, which looked at Kading's investigation into the murders of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur.
So why we don't know shit about Biggie? Why we don't know nothing about Biggie? Why people in New York still have a question mark over their head about Biggie Smalls? If y'all dug this deep for Tupac, why couldn't y'all find something about Biggie? Something's up.
I spoke with Dorsey about the news that Dwayne Keefe D. Davis had been taken into custody.
Well, this has been, for me, kind of a 10-year journey since we put out our doc, Murder Rap, which was the first documentary that put out his taped confession that his crew did this. And my reaction is that this has just been a very long time coming, and very, very, it's just an exciting day to finally have this. We didn't think this was going to happen at a certain point. It just seemed like so much time had gone by. You started to wonder, is it really going to happen or not?
Well, this is a serious secret to hold for all these years. So I don't know if it was bubbling up inside him, but it'll suck if I knew I was involved in the murder of Tupac, and after 25 years, there's schools who actually use Tupac as an actual subject in learning, and his music, legendary, being in the Hall of Fame and all that. So this stuff got to be eaten up inside. If not, then this is just one tough ass motherfucker.
But the wheels of justice turn slowly sometimes. And
That was real
the
slow.
case here.
Real
But
slow.
They got it done.
You said that you thought an indictment.
But Orlando Anderson has been implicated a long time ago, almost over 10 years ago. So y'all already knew who did it. What's the point of bagging up Davis for if y'all already know who did it? Now, apparently Vegas goes by a law that you don't have to be the actual murderer. If you're just there, you're going to be charged with the murder itself. So this is why Keefe D is being involved in this, and why he's getting locked up, evidently.
Would be coming, but now you're saying you didn't think this would ever happen. So do
Sure.
you feel like it was taking too long? Because we had heard some rumblings that a grand jury was looking at this.
I'll just say, initially we had heard that it was going to happen very quickly. It seemed like an indictment was, 6 weeks ago, an indictment was like
It's a
happening,
closed case. He admitted it.
and then nothing. And we heard the grand jury was convening, and it was very airtight. They're not telling us anything. They aren't telling the public anything. So you do start to wonder after weeks and weeks go by if they're really going to pull it off or not.
What do you think? What kind of witnesses do you think they have? Because everybody else that was in that vehicle that night is dead.
Sure. I know some of the people that they've spoken to, but I can't.
That's sad. Almost 80% of the people that were involved in this situation is either locked up or dead. That's sad. People can't even live for 30 years. When you're involved in the streets, your life expectancy shortens dramatically. People, stay the fuck about the streets, bro. That's crazy. 30 years, you couldn't even raise your grandchildren. That's wild.
Disclose that, but correct. All three of the other people that were allegedly with Keefe in the shooter's vehicle, they've all died since this happened.
Disgusting.
Some of the key witnesses, like Tupac's bodyguard, is dead. Tupac himself, of course, being the closest witness, is dead. Suge Knight, being the next closest witness,
Jail.
will probably never talk about it.
Nope.
So I don't know exactly who they've spoken to that could help them build, a case around Keefe. But I do know that when Murder Rap came out, we heard from a lot of people that had information on this case that had never disclosed it before, who said that it basically filled in the gaps for them of what they already knew. So my guess is that that's who they've been talking to, is people like that.
Ben had the
Have
information.
pieces of the story, and when you put them all together, it's like this tapestry that comes together of a case.
In some of these interviews, Keefe D seemed very cognizant of the fact that he had to be careful about what he said. So he obviously knew that he still was at risk of possibly being prosecuted. But then he goes and writes this book.
Right. Yeah, when he did his interview with BET for Death Row Chronicles, which came out in 2018, he had an attorney with him present for that interview. And then
Didn't do his
after
job
that,
right.
I don't know how much legal counsel he was getting. It's almost like when that came out and nothing happened to him, I wonder if maybe he got lulled into this sense of, I guess they're not going to do anything. I'll just keep doing interviews, and I'll be careful on my own and do what I think, I can get away with saying without going.
Clout is a bitch. Let me tell you something. People don't feed into this clout stuff. Number one rules of the streets when you do some shit is shut the fuck up. Once you start talking before or after, or even during, like when you're actually locked up going to the trial and all that, a lot of these people tend to give up a lot of information to like their jail bunkie and shit like that. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Stop talking. Not that I didn't want Tupac's murder to be solved, but when you're involved in the streets, there's certain rules and regulations, and one of them is shut the fuck up. Let's go.
Going too far. But yeah, it seems clear. I mean, the fact that you bring a lawyer with you to an interview to make sure you don't say too much does tell you that he must have, at least in the back of his mind, considered that he might still be able to be prosecuted for this. And the proffer deal, when he did his original, statement to the police about this, 15 years ago, that only covers what he says that day in that meeting. If he went on CNN that night and said the same story, they would be able to use that interview against him. So I think he knows full well he had to be careful what he said.
So what do you expect to come next? Obviously, Keefe D had to know something might be coming since a search warrant was executed on his home.
Sure. We don't know what the charges are yet. I'm hoping that if there's a press conference today, that they'll tell us what he's actually being charged with and confirm, of course, it is for this case. And the next, I would think that he might want to do a deal, or that they might be interested in doing a deal. I don't know anybody wants this to go to trial and have that circus.
I don't think it's going to go to trial
in Vegas, and so I would suspect
he was there. He was involved.
Try to do a deal, but I don't know.
The Associated Press is reporting that a judge ordered Keefe D held without bail. The prosecutor on the case was quoted as saying during the hearing that Keefe D was the on-site commander who ordered the death of Tupac Shakur. For Law and Crime, I'm Anjanette Levy.
Now, allegedly, Puffy was supposed to pay Keefe D $1 million, but there was somebody else who intercepted that money and pocketed it, and Keefe D never got paid out. And there's some interviews with Keefe talking about Puffy, reconciling their differences and so forth. But yeah, this is an interesting story. Most of this information was already known, by the way. Keefe D's been talking about this, but for the most part, people just shut the fuck up when you do some dirt. If you ever did something and you never got caught for it, shut up. Shut up. It's just the rules of the streets. You don't want to go to jail, shut up. Or just don't do the crime, period, people. Just don't do it at all. If you're going to do the crime, you got to be prepared to do the time. But yeah, Tupac. Welcome back, Tupac. You're back from the dead. Now that all this is over, can we get into Biggie? Can we find Biggie's murderer, please? We're doing all this, and I want to talk about Biggie. Why can't we put Biggie to rest properly, huh? Y'all doing all this work for Tupac. Tupac was okay. He was all right. I feel like Biggie was better. But this is another Melly in the Mix. I appreciate your eyes and ears. Thank you for joining this platform. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you saw, if you like what you didn't see, if you like what you heard, you didn't like what you heard. Let me know down below. Please just, let's make this shit happen. And until next time, people, I appreciate your eyes and ears. Peace out.